What is going on YouTube? Dr. Jaws here, bringing you a how to ninja defuse in Black Ops 3. In this video, I will cover the class setup, character choice, how to play dead and how to statue defuse, how to find places to hide, and how to approach the planner. If you follow all these directions in this video, you will have yourself a good time. Alright, let's go ahead and move right into the class setup. So, I already have two classes made, both for ninja defusing, and in this first class, we have the submachine gun Kuda. I like to run a submachine gun just because it allows you to move around the fastest out of all the primary weapons. And I put on a suppressor for it, just in case you do enter a gunfight with an enemy, you won't be shown up on the radar. Alright, I don't have a secondary just to allow myself to add another perk, which I'll go over a little later. And I also don't have a lethal, again, for a perk purpose. So first I have a tactical, the flashbang. Technically you can use any other sort of tactical and it will work for playing dead. Or you can use any sort of lethal to play dead instead of a tactical. As long as you don't use the frag grenade, things will get messy if you end up using that, if you know what I mean. Alright, don't do that.
Gonna have a bad time.
Okay, let's go ahead and cover up the perks now. Perk 1, I have Ghost on. So Ghost allows you to not be seen by enemy UAVs only when you're moving though, just like in Black Ops 2, unless you're defusing a bomb. So that is very key, especially if you're going to go for these ninja defuses. Another perk that you could use for perk 1 is maybe Blind Eye and possibly Sixth Sense, but Ghost would definitely do the best here. For perk 2, I have Hardwired. Hardwired's really nice because you don't trigger trip mines or shock charges or C4 alarm or anything like that, which is great. And also it reduces your digital imprint against enemy trackers and the very annoying Sixth Sense perk, which is very hard to stay stealthy without it. The hardwired perk, that is. I also decided to put on a wild card so I could have another perk for the perk 2. And I have Cold-Blooded. So Cold-Blooded basically keeps you off of the thermal sights. Unfortunately, unlike the older Call of Duty games, Cold-Blooded no longer keeps your name from being shown whenever an enemy puts their reticle over you. And unfortunately, there's nothing in this game that prevents your name from being shown up while in-game. So that's very unfortunate, but hopefully you guys can stay stealthy out there and not get caught. So for perk 3, I have Dead Silence, which is awesome to have. Keeps your feet totally silent because you don't want to be running around like there with your big ol' elephant feet, because if an enemy hears you, which he will, because there's always those sound wars, you're gonna have a bad time. Alright, I also put on another wild card in for perk 3 to add another perk, and it is the Tactical Mask, which allows you to not be affected by the flashbangs, concussions, and shock charges. You can also use either Blast Suppressor or Awareness. I would maybe try to use Blast Suppressor, maybe even more than Tactical Mask. Blast Suppressor basically just keeps the sound suppressed whenever you do any sort of thrust movement. And I don't really worry too much about the minimap signature when you do your thrust movements. It doesn't seem like it's very easy to detect on the minimap, so it's not too big a deal. So that is the end of that class. And the last class is for statue defusing. So, for statue defusing, you can actually have any sort of primary weapon that you want. Or, what you would originally use is a pistol, which is what I have set up along with a silencer on it. And then you have, for the lethal, a combat axe. You can also use a shock charge, but I again prefer the combat axe just because it's more, goes back to the origins of how to statue defuse. And the perks for this class are exactly the same as the playing dead class. Alright, so now that we have gone over both of the classes which I think are the best at the moment, we will go ahead and move into what type of character you should choose. So there are 10 characters for you to choose from. Each one has their own special abilities, and each one has a different look to them, of course. So right now, when you first start out the game, you have the first 4 characters to choose from. Now, the best are the Prophet and the Outrider for ninja defusing, just because they wear more dark clothing that's easier to blend into more dark areas, which is good for when you're trying to camouflage. Later on, though, as soon as you level up, longer on down the road, you want to use the Spectre. Now, Spectre is great because he has something called active camo, which makes you nearly invisible for a short amount of time, but is a very useful amount of time if used correctly. And he also has the best camouflage gear just from the basic. If you choose a character that sticks out like a wild banshee, the enemy player really won't like you, and then you're gonna have a bad time. So, now that we have all of that out of the way, we'll go ahead and move into how to play dead and how to stash to defuse. Alright, welcome to the field, soldier. So in this portion of the video, I will show you guys how to play dead. So what you gotta do is you gotta lay prone, and all you gotta do is hold out either your concussion or grenade or whatever else you have, and your guy will act pretty still with little movement, so basically he looks dead. Makes it very hard for the enemy player to see you. In older Call of Duties, you could YY or triangle in order to play dead, and in this one, it doesn't work out so well. If you YY when you should have held out your flashbang, you're gonna have a bad time. That's right. Now, some other things to know when you're playing dead is if you have a large weapon, you want to hold that out, because when you hold out your concussion or grenade or whatever, it'll hide it completely. Versus if you have a rocket launcher or another big weapon and you don't hold it out, then it'll be put on your back. And if you have a rocket launcher strapped to your back, the enemies are going to assume you like to take it up the rear, and you're going to have a bad time. Okay. Now we'll move on how to stash to defuse. Alright, so what you're going to do is you're going to have your pistol out, and then all you have to do is stand up against a wall or something like that. That'll make it easy for you to blend into. Once you hold out the combat axe and or shock charge, make sure that you stand perfectly still. Any sort of movement at all will allow the enemy to see you a lot easier. If you decide to use a primary weapon, make sure that you hold that primary weapon out, because when you do end up pulling up your combat axe, it will completely hide the primary weapon. Also, make sure that you don't have any sort of large secondary weapon on your back, like in this case the rocket launcher, or you're going to get your head shot off just like that dummy, and you're going to be the real dummy here and have a bad time. Okay, now we'll go ahead and move into how to find places to hide. So usually what I like to do is either I'll just go ahead and enter into a search and destroy lobby and just try to wing it and hopefully find a place to hide. It's not always the best results, however. So sometimes instead I like to go into private matches with a couple of my buddies, and what we'll do is we'll see if we can find places to hide, and we can tell each other, oh, does this spot look good or not, or whatever it is. And also what you can do now that theater mode's back is you can go into theater mode and third person yourself in a spot that you maybe thought looked good and see if it works well. The last thing to cover in this how-to video is how to approach the planter. It's a pretty basic skill, so all you have to do is when you see the planter go to plant the bomb, you need to get up, you need to be a little bit cautious, make sure that there's no enemies around, and approach the planter from the backside. Go ahead and get up on that booty and get the defuse, and there you go. That's the simplest way to get it, but of course it's not always that easy to get right up behind the planter. Sometimes they will plant the bomb facing you. In this case, what you're going to want to do is wait until the briefcase opens up all the way and then approach the bomb planter and go head on. If you're lucky, he won't see you at all. Another way to do it is go ahead and take just a little bit of side route. You might want to make sure that the briefcase opens up again and just work all the way around the bomb. What's nice about the Spectre character is he can go invisible, which is a huge help for any sort of face-to-face plant. And that covers how to ninja defuse in Black Ops 3. If you guys have any other sort of suggestions or anything that you think that you might do differently, go ahead and leave a comment down below. I always love to read your guys' feedback. And make sure that you guys go out there and have yourselves a good time, because what is ninja defusing about?
Having a good time. That's right.
Thank you guys very much for watching. Toodles.
I came in like a wrecking ball.